As the war in Iran enters its second month and the fuel crisis threatens to spill over into a full-blown economic one, the Sunday Independent Ireland Thinks poll shows what the public are most worried about, how they feel the government has handled the fallout from the crisis, and the impact the crisis has had on the individual support for political parties. Joining me now to discuss all of that is pollster with Ireland Thinks, Kevin Cunningham. Kevin, how are you? And let's run through this. Some pretty stark findings in here. I would like to start with the important priorities of the country to deal with question, because it looks like cost of living, perhaps unsurprisingly, has jumped by 10 points. That's a significant jump.
Yeah, cost of living is the number one issue in this particular poll, up to 53%. It's the first time in a long time since it's been the top issue. The economy has also increased to 14 points, 4 points higher than it was previously, and very little change outside of that. But it reflects a dynamic where there's much greater focus on the economy and cost of living, and that has a lot of implications for the future in terms of the extent to which different political parties can take advantage of that. And when this happened in 2022, Sinn Féin ended up riding high on 30+%, 38% or whatever.
Skyrocketed, didn't they, really?
At this point in time, Sinn Féin are pretty much unmoved. They're on 22 points. So it really shows that they're not really capturing this kind of moment where they did in the previous electoral cycle. There was some sense that the Social Democrats might do this as well, but Social Democrats are actually down 2 to 9 in this particular poll. They're still, relatively high compared to the last election, but it's not clear that for either of these parties that the cost of living is really engaging those voters in particular to move across. Or maybe we're quite early in this particular cost of living crisis.
Potentially, but at least at this stage, and we're now into the fifth week of the war in Iran, and we know that the EU will be bringing forward this package next week to recommend what people do in terms of their behaviour around reducing energy usage. But it seems to me really that, as you say, the opposition parties have gained nothing from this crisis, but neither really have the government parties, because we're seeing Fianna Fáil have jumped 1 and Fine Gael remains unchanged on 17.
I mean, you could think of this in terms of two competing ideas. One is that when there is an external threat to a country and global politics, you often expect this kind of rally around the flags effect. So where leaders, people kind of go towards the political leaders, and certainly Micheál Martin's approval rating has increased in that respect. Yeah. But obviously we're not so heavily involved in this crisis that that they're going to benefit massively. At the same time, I think the cost of living crisis itself probably isn't viewed as being something that's blamed on the government, so you can't imagine that it's damaging their support.
Particularly,
itself.
I suppose, when you're such a strong personality like Donald Trump, who has clearly been from the outset instigated this conflict with Israel, and he's now seen to have to own it, even if it's going to ultimately and potentially backfire on him. But talk to me a little bit around the party leadership, because as you point out there that the Social Democrats have gone down too, but also Holly Cairns, who's been consistently the most popular party leader, has also gone down slightly. And again, it points to the fact that they haven't really seized this moment perhaps as strongly as others.
Yeah, I mean, the extent to which they can or not, whether these sorts of issues are the issues that people will commonly associate with those political parties. Obviously, Sinn Féin have been very keen to associate themselves with the cost of living. They recognise quite clearly that this is a major issue. I think every single time Mary Lou is in the Dáil, or at least a question, they'll emphasise cost of living. But it is kind of relatively early. We have another question here in relation to whether people expect a global recession. 82% say yes, which is staggeringly large. Now, we did a question previously on expectations of recession 2 years ago, and people did overestimate that. But that's just a sense of where people are now. The 82% is far, far higher. Yeah. And the extent to which people think that such a recession is going to be extreme, 36% is indicating that they think of that such a recession would be even worse than 2008. So there is a fear factor at the minute rather than anything else,
But the sense I've been picking up, at least politically, and even just speaking to friends and family the last week, is that the seriousness or the potential seriousness of this hasn't necessarily hit home with the public yet, but these figures would suggest it's beginning to.
Yeah, I like, some of the demands that they have here as well, incentivizing public transport use, greater uptake of working from home. But one of the things I thought was quite interesting, the fact that it is starting to hit home, is that when people are asked what sort of choices the government should make, and they're given multiple options, that includes 50% indicating that they would be in favour of fuel rationing. So that suggests that there's, certainly in some quarters, massive expectations of seriousness in relation to how the government should be responding to this particular issue. And lots of people indicating that they're driving less, they're using less energy. So it's clearly immediately impactful. It's just the extent to which this is filtered into kind of national politics, perhaps, remains to be seen, I guess.
There's also, I suppose, an acknowledgement based on some of these questions that the public are by and large aware of what the government can and can't do. I mean, there's a question here which is, which should the Irish government's top priority be in responding to the conflict? And perhaps not surprisingly, 67 said reducing the financial impact on energy price and the cost of living.
Yeah.
And only 22 calling for de-escalation, because in reality they know that Ireland, a minnow on the world stage, has very little sway in this regard.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's very much a domestic issue because people perhaps recognise that that's probably the most relevant thing. Protecting Irish citizens abroad in 6, and maintaining good relations with the United States 4, so it's even lower again. There is a question we have here as well in relation to the Irish government's response in terms of that international realm, which is obviously less important, but still minorly significant, I guess. And people, 50% indicated that they believe that the government had been not critical enough of the United States, and 41% about right, and 10% too critical. So you could probably... this is kind of similar to the questions we had when Micheál Martin was going to the White House, and most people said, just about most people, indicated a preference for the kind of more moderate kind of position. And you'd probably argue that what Micheál Martin did himself in the White House was fairly well measured with public opinion, slightly leaning towards critical, but
slightly further than many expected him to go. I think.
Exactly. But in recognition of that's where the public were, I guess. But
talk to me a little bit about Micheál Martin, just staying on it for a minute, because we touched on the party leaders there, and he is, based on this, the only party leaders who's seen their personal popularity go up. Now, 2 points, it's not a huge jump, but bear in mind where he was at kind of crisis point last year. We've spoken before about how when he does this statesman thing, to a certain extent, his popularity goes up. This, I think, will give both party leaders, Micheál Martin and Simon Harris, pause for thought, in that there's been a lot of discussion this week about whether he should make a State of the Nation address, right? And he sort of ruled that out. And there's a sense in some quarters that the government, perhaps politically, are not seizing on this enough. They're being moderate. They're obviously not going to scare people. They have to make their decisions. They're not going to be knee-jerk. But you remember in COVID when Leo Varadkar came out and he would have made his big speech and stuff, you would have seen the impact that would have on government support, and Fine Gael would have gone up. So I just wonder now, is this likely to be a trend for Micheál Martin?
Yeah, I think there's two things there. One is that there's the unravelling of the very low position that he found himself in the immediate aftermath of the presidential election, where his popularity declined rapidly, and this recovery and the scale of the recovery is quite significant, and even increasing again is quite interesting because he's basically back to where he was essentially at this time last year. What's interesting about what you say in relation to the kind of statesman-like interventions in politics, we have seen that before, as you said, in relation to Brexit. We saw Leo Varadkar's approval rating and the support for Fine Gael coinciding with any major interventions. And I think relatively uniquely at the time, and certainly in terms of Leo Varadkar, his ability to do that, because on the world stage, I think that's what people liked most about Leo Varadkar when you're kind of looking at him as a politician. Micheál Martin perhaps is the same sort of politician in that regard, although it hasn't been seen thus far. The idea that he is the kind of politician that gains public support through this kind of statesman-like behaviour and big public speeches and that sort of stuff. It there was a series of different events around Brexit which clearly spiked support for Leo Varadkar, and because it was just very clear that domestically, whenever issues moved back to the domestic front in terms of housing or those sorts of other issues, he wasn't as strong on those issues. I'm not sure if Micheál Martin has the same kind of dichotomy, really good internationally and you know, obviously not quite as popular when it comes to domestic issues. His popularity comes, it seems, from being a sense of being a moderate and towards the centre and all that sort of stuff. So perhaps you're right. Perhaps if he does the kind of statesman-like, he will actually prove this wrong, I guess.
Talk to me a little bit about Fine Gael and Simon Harris, because we've seen no change in their support for the party or the leader. It hasn't gone down, but you would think that how front and centre the Taoiseach Finance Minister has put himself during this crisis repeatedly, you would expect, or maybe I'm wrong, but I would have expected some change. I should say Simon Harris is actually up one in terms of his popularity. Yeah. So there is some perhaps impact there, but maybe not as much as he would have liked.
Yeah, he has this particular very popular policy in relation to state investment schemes.
Yes.
He's rolling out, and that is, based on our poll the previous month, that was very popular. It, you know, does it coincide exactly with the cost of living crisis? I'm not entirely sure, because investment and cost of living, slightly different things, obviously. But yeah, Simon Harris, he is kind of stabilising in some respect. Like if you see it the last couple of months, it's been 33, 34, where there had been a decline over the previous couple of months, since the general election, broadly speaking, and around that kind of period running into the general election. It does seem to have stabilised. What is interesting really is the decisions that he might make as finance minister as well in the context of this particular crisis. So he will invariably get a lot of focus. I think in relation to like being in the media and the extent to which politicians get coverage and the communications aspect of this, I think what we've seen in previous iterations as the most popular politician for a while was Paschal Donohoe. And he was popular, I don't necessarily think because he was necessarily front and centre, but in terms of the delivery of what was presented. So he would have announced various different cost of living measures, but he became popular only after the implementation of those cost of living measures. So insofar as Simon Harris is concerned, that is a very popular policy. He is clearly associated with it. It might just mean that his popularity might be expected to rise in the context of the implementation of these measures, these investment measures, rather than, you know, beforehand.
What about the energy package, though? I mean, he was key to that too, the €250 million. And what was interesting was when the government were being accused of dithering by Sinn Féin in the kind of weeks between when the war broke out and the package was delivered, Simon Harris was batting them away constantly with statements and retorts and in the Dáil, etc., etc. And he was, as I say, a key part of delivering that package. There's a very real possibility that the government may have to go further, if not the same, at the end of May.
Yeah, and like I'd say the simplest way to answer that is that the impact of the government's introduction of measures in 2022, like by contrast to this, right, it didn't necessarily increase their support.
It's following Russia's
It just stabilised any losses.
Yeah.
It prevented Sinn Féin from continuing to rise. So before the introduction of those measures, those parties were down. At this point in time, if you look at the collective support for the government, it has started to stabilise a little bit. And in fact, collectively across the two parties, their support has increased effectively since the last month.
There's obviously plenty of food for thought in here for the government in terms of policies or messaging, in terms of advice around what people are saying they will do and their own behaviours. But I just wanted to turn a little bit now as well to something that we would have reported on last week, which is in relation to, I suppose, a housing issue really, and these modular homes.
Yeah, the modular homes are very interesting. We polled this previously, and they proved to be very popular and it was a reflection of what underpins the housing issue more generally. That housing is a major issue. It's definitely an issue that is benefiting the opposition and left-wing political parties in general. But it is not the case that those people that are principally concerned with this issue are, by definition, kind of ideologically attached to various different principles. It's clear that the modular homes was very popular because it was a measure of some sort that people believed might work. and anything in that respect seems to be quite popular. So we asked people would they consider doing themselves. Obviously, in many cases, they might not have the financial capabilities, but but I think it's 45% indicated that they'd be okay with their neighbour installing one. Now, generally speaking, you do end up with what people often term NIMBYism, which is I would argue a kind of an interesting term, but quite lazy when you actually go into the details of individual circumstances of individuals. Notwithstanding that, you do have more people indicating that they would favour someone next door installing one as opposed to opposing.
Yeah, people are effectively saying they, less than a quarter would say I wouldn't do it. It's not for me, but almost half say I don't mind if someone else does it.
Yeah.
And similarly, like on the renting them out, which we know the government are now kind of finalising. I mean, yes, 38 and only to relatives 26. I mean, that's almost 2/3 of people saying in some form they would be okay with this.
15% saying that they're not okay with the renting of them out. And that's not even, that's part of the debate, I think. In some respect, I'm not sure if... Now, the opposition can obviously take policy positions which are advocating for what they truly believe in, obviously, but they might not be the most popular policy to oppose in some respect.
Yes.
It does seem to be something that is relatively speaking quite popular.
Yeah.
And it exceeds. So I know the debate was concerned whether or not there should be a limit on people renting these out just to relatives and family members, but it seems that actually people are happy for these to be rented out beyond that. So yeah, it's a measure people are clearly very happy with, and the introduction of it, which is kind of currently debated, and people are going back and forth in relation to it, but it's just quite popular.
Just to, I suppose, finish where we started on those big issues for the public. I mean, housing's obviously gone down 7 to 45. Cost of living at 53 as a huge jump. Where do you think we could be in 4 weeks' time?
I don't know. I think you'd have to predict the trajectory of the war in Iran in some respect. It seems that there's a lot of suggestion that regardless of whether this crisis is immediately resolved and peace deals occur immediately overnight, that the impact of what has already happened in terms of delays of the distribution of oil and what have you will naturally find itself in the Irish economy, I guess, and for that reason, it's understandable that people are very concerned with the Irish economy. The economy being the fourth most important issue is the highest it's been since we've done this, to be honest, and we've only been doing this particular series since 2020. So,
well, on that note, I think we'll leave it there. Kevin, thanks so much for joining me. For those findings and more, see independent.ie. Thanks very much.